Welcome to another edition of the Grappling Bulletin podcast. Myself, Hull T, joined as always by Chase Smith, and in the back we have Corey Stockton over there doing the thing, the researching and stuff. Pull it up, young Corey. But man, interesting weekend.
How was Vegas?
Vegas was great fun. Vegas is always fun, right? But of course, the real highlight of that trip was the jiu-jitsu, because I got to see some incredible matches at EUG Promotions in that 170-pound tournament.
I thought you were going to talk about pizza.
Well, that was also pretty good. Okay,
this guy had some Mikey Musumeci's pizza.
All right, let's roll it back a bit, because yes, you're right. Before the show on Saturday night, I actually got treated to some of Mikey's own handmade pizza, and I can tell you right now that if you've seen that Cooking with Mikey video, it is as good as it looks and better.
I'm jealous.
Incredible. Yeah. Actually, you know what happened was that when I got to Vegas, I texted Mikey and I went down to the gym on Friday to go watch him train. And that, by the way, was really good. We have a drilling video of Mikey drilling this really intricate kind of K-guard to a back take and just repping it over and over for like 5 minutes straight. Well, I mean, you've seen it. What do you think of it?
Oh man, it's a really cool video. You know, the transitions were super smooth and clean, but just watching Mikey rep it out over and over 5 minutes straight, and it was
non-stop.
No breaks, no discussion, no working through it, just clean reps. You
know, I noticed as well
nice.
was how focused he was during the entire time, and I also noticed his face was completely calm, and he was nasal breathing throughout the entire round. So it just shows, you know, like precision, focus, clinical technique. It was really cool. Corey, you're a big K-guard guy. What did you think of that video?
Yeah, I mean, seeing the way that Mikey works, it's, you know, knowing that he does things like this 5 hours a day, very impressive to see exactly how he drills. I think it gives us some insight into the makings of Mikey Musumeci, right? Watching how he drills, and not just that he drills 5, 10, 12 hours a day, but the actual process to it. There's a lot to that.
And the setup that he used was exactly what he did in the Lucas Pinheiro match, right?
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to see him work a few different transitions in there, and yeah, a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration to take from that short, not short, but 5 minute clip. Yeah.
Well, one thing that he did, and this has been filmed, but we're not going to release anything yet, was he was working some techniques which were very specific to his upcoming Who's Number One match this weekend against Junior Ocasio. And all I will say is that, man, Mikey's approach to training and his approach to drilling techniques may be a very different philosophy to some people. You know, everybody's got their own thoughts on the right way to drill, the right way to develop techniques. And, you know, maybe they don't agree that Mikey's way is the right way. But I say that the right way is the best way that works for you. And in his case, this is phenomenal, because I watched him drill a specific entry into a specific finish and kind of troubleshoot it with his training partner, Renee Souza, and he used it, over and over. And then he rolled live with, you know, a bunch of guys in the session, and he hit it on every single person, like without fail. And at first they were unaware. And then the second or third time, they're like, okay, we kind of see what's going on here. And then, even fully aware of what he was going for, he just kept going for it and kept hitting it successfully over and over and over against very good training partners. So, to be honest, watching that entire process from him kind of like taking this technique from the embryonic stage, drilling it, fine-tuning it, troubleshooting the mechanics, and then implementing it against live resisting opponents again and again and again, phenomenal. And I got a really good interview with Mikey talking about his approach to learning jiu-jitsu and stuff, which we'll be putting up on the site soon as well. So it's fascinating. And then he made me pizza. So, you know, all in all, it was a great weekend.
That is a solid Friday. But of course, EUG number 2 also went down. That's why you were there, as much as you were also supposed to have a good time.
I went for the pizza. The jiu-jitsu was second, yeah.
And there was some great matches. I had a great time watching from home.
EUG, yeah, the 170-pound tournament. This was very interesting indeed. So, Jonathan Alves took the gold and the very nice cash prize of $10,000. And it was not an easy run to the top. Of course, we talked a lot about how loaded this bracket was. It was an 8-man, 170-pound tournament. And Jonathan wasn't even the favorite. If you actually looked at the betting odds, I think he was a plus 100 or plus 105 in a stacked lineup. And his side of the bracket particularly was, well, any of the 4 guys could have come out of that potentially into the final, and we had an idea that it was going to be either Tynan or Mika on the other side of the bracket. We'll get to that in just a minute. But Jonathan, I mean, he fought his way through to the final, and pretty smart strategy, I would say, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about this online and amongst ourselves. The format at EUG, if you haven't watched, has a last to score stipulation to it, and that does create an interesting strategy available for some competitors out there who they can keep a tie going and then still win that match if they finish the tie, or if they create a tie last for the last person to score. So we did see that play out a little bit.
I mean, of course, any competitor in jiu-jitsu, and I kind of think this is a thing in jiu-jitsu in general, because jiu-jitsu is about problem solving, right? And I almost feel like the rule set itself is a problem to be solved, and people are very, very good at gaming the rules and figuring out the way to make it work in their favor. And Alves and his coach, obviously Guy Mendes, they did a great job of that, because they figured out that if Alves came out and if he scored and then wasn't scored on again, then he's good. But if he got scored on first and then scored back and then didn't get scored on, then he would win, because like you said, in the event of a tie, whoever scored last would win. And he did that in his first 2 matches. Basically, it was very, very smart strategy, and it wasn't the most entertaining of matches, but it got the job done, right? But then the final with Mika, and he had to weather the storm in that one. Corey, what were your thoughts on that final between Alves and Mika Galvão?
It was really impressive to see exactly the level that Mikey Galvão is at, right? We know where Jonathan Alves is. He's a pan champion. He wins nearly everything. But very impressive to see Mika come out and really throw the kitchen sink at both Jonathan Alves and Tynan Dalper before that. Obviously, Jonathan's a pro. He weathered the storm. He kept to his strategy, and he ended up coming out on top. But Mika kept it close and made it a close match, and it was really impressive to see that from him.
Yeah, let's play this highlight here, because this is basically the last kind of minute or so of the match, the final restart and through, and Alves was up on points at this point. He was 2-0 lead, and Mika knew that the only way that he was going to get the win in this case was to either score, which was very difficult against somebody as solid a top game as Jonathan Alves, or he had to finish. And he went out guns blazing. You can see here he came close. He gets this triangle choke. You see that Alves is able to fight his way out of it. He's able to withdraw his head from inside. But it looked for a moment, it was like, oh, he's got it. And then, Mika's fighting. He's going for the omoplata. He's going for the sweep. He's throwing everything at him at this stage. But you can see Alves looks at the clock there, and he's like, man, how much time I got left? And he's holding on. And I mean, how many people can fight off Mika Galvão like that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't blame him at all for taking that approach, knowing that you're up and that you just got to make it through. I mean, Mika is, like you said, throwing the kitchen sink at him. There's really nonstop pressure from bottom from Mika right now. And Jonathan was able to just do what he had to win. And when there's $10,000 on the line, it's hard to really be too critical of that, right? Where it's like, I got to win this thing.
Why would you risk it? Why would you risk opening up, getting scored on, or potentially getting submitted when there is $10,000, like you say, on the line and to be had? I mean, who would want to see that slip through their fingers?
I mean, it was close. Mika kind of forced that game, you might say, by being so aggressive and a terrifying opponent, right? You got to play it smart against someone like Mika, because he will break it off. So, especially
given what we saw earlier in the tournament, because of course John, representing Art of Jiu-Jitsu, he's on one side of the bracket. His teammate Tynan Dalper was on the other, and Tynan and Mika, they met in the semifinals. And number one, if you haven't seen the match, you have to go and watch it. If you haven't seen it, go to FloGrappling immediately after this show and pull up that match, because it is a definite match of the year contender. It is incredible, and a big part of that is because few people ever put Tynan Dalpra in those kind of positions.
He's been undefeated.
He has had, since he got his black belt, he has not lost a match, right? And Mika, obviously the hungry, the 17-year-old brown belt, I mean, he came out there and it was going to be a huge question mark of how he would perform against somebody of Tynan's caliber. And the truth is, he did extremely well. I mean, he put pressure on Tynan like we've never seen before. He came extremely close to passing the guard, almost managed to secure the 3 points more than once, but 1 point was like almost. He locked on the pass, he got through the knee cut, and he had to kind of control the firearm, but Tynan was able to turn out, and then Tynan came on top, and then, you know, there was this amazing scramble, like in the last 30 seconds, where Mika launched a flying triangle, and it's crazy, because this is one of those matches that ended 0-0. Now, usually you see a 0-0 score, and you're like, whatever. The best 0-0 match you've ever seen in your life, right?
They heard it there. Yeah, I was definitely on the edge of my seat throughout that whole match, especially when Mika threw up that flying triangle attack, and I was like, oh my god, like if that's the way this goes down, that would be crazy. But it was fun to see a very open game, right? I mean, Mika really had nothing to lose. He despite there being a lot of pressure on him, he's still going up against an elite black belt. So it was his game to really win.
And you know, you have to think that Jonathan, seeing that match, seeing his teammates and one of his main training partners, Tynan Dalpra, go down to Mika in the semi-final like that, and what, you know, the like you say, the sort of this furious pace and pressure and just going out there so hard and pouring it on Tynan is like, Jonathan, man, he would have had to think, okay, I can't match that intensity. I have to control the match on my terms. Corey, that kind of strategy is key in a match like that, right?
Absolutely. Tynan and Jonathan both really like to drive, and they never really give their opponent a chance to set up or gain any control. And Mika's as explosive as he is, I'm sure he knew coming out that that's what he had to do, was steal control from them and never give it back, and he did it really successfully. Important to note too, I think, that we rarely ever see any of the top AOJ people in any kind of submission danger.
Right.
And Mika had both of them in triangles. Now say what you will about how deep those triangles actually were, but even to get them in that position is remarkable.
It really is. Let's listen to this short clip. I spoke with John immediately after he fought his way through that bracket, and let's just hear what he had to say about it.
About tonight, your performance in all of your matches. How do you feel about your jiu-jitsu tonight?
Well, I felt good, but not enough, you know what I mean? So I know I can perform much better. I know my work, the work that professor has been doing with us. So I know I can perform much better. I can just display a better jiu-jitsu every time on top. So I felt good playing guard, sweeping all of my opponents, but there's still things to work on top, work my guard pass, my posture. I know like Monday I'll be back to work, and then I just want to get better and have a completed game.
What are you going to do with the money now?
Well, now I don't know yet. So it's all my money. It's my money and Tynan's money. We came together as a team, and then that's what we're going to do.
All right, congratulations, John.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So it shows the bond that he has with his teammate Tynan Dalpra when he says that it is our money. We came here as a team. So I think that's really interesting, you know, and I don't know whether they're going to split it down the middle or who knows, but the fact is that he considers it their money as opposed to just his. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah,
as well.
it's kind of nice to hear. And also, you know, thankfully we didn't run into that scenario. Raises the question, what happens if I met in the final? But it didn't go down that way, so no need to worry at this point.
Yeah, that is one of the few criticisms that I would have of the event, is that, you know, there were 4 people in that 8-man bracket who came from 2 teams, and you had Liera Jr. and Jonathan Gracie on one side of the bracket, and then you had Tynan and Jonathan on opposite sides of the bracket. Now, it worked out that they didn't have to face off, but in a cash prize tournament like that, I don't think that it's a great idea to have people from the same team because of the potential for fixed matches. And that is a reality. We know it happens. We know it's been happening forever in jiu-jitsu. It's been happening in gi and in no gi, and it is a reality that 2 members of the same team cannot be trusted to go out there and to have a real match. It just is too much of a risk to put 2 people into a bracket where cash is on the line, because they will work it out and they will make it look convincing, but it is fixed. And I know personally of matches where I've had competitors step off the mat and kind of wink at me and go, there you go, you know, I'm just kind of figuring something out with my buddy. You know, I've had people openly say that to me, that is the case. And that has been the case usually in tournaments such as UAE JJF, where there is cash on the line, or AJP. And, you know, it's not impossible that had they met in this event, for example, that they could have figured something out. And the crowd may have been none the wiser, but it's a danger. So I think that if there is one criticism, is definitely to limit the amount of participants per team to just the one. So, but otherwise, great event, a lot of fun. Like we say, you can check all the replays and stuff there on our site. And the word is that the next EUG event should be in September, and it should be a £145 bracket. And yeah, we'll wait and see as we get details about who's in on that one. We'll let you know.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm liking their show, and good to see it building momentum. But speaking of momentum, a little bit of a setback coming up here. Who's number one? If you guys didn't see the news,
it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Keenan Cornelius is out of his match with Hisam Rita. I guess it's an old injury that kind of flared up. Hal, what do we know about that?
Yep, Keenan's out. He's injured. He cannot compete. Apparently, it's a back injury, and it's unfortunate, but it's a reality again, isn't it? It's jiu-jitsu, man. I mean, you know, these guys, especially guys like Keenan, who's getting a little bit older in the sport now.
Veteran. The term is veteran.
Thank you. But you know, it's just a fact, isn't it? That a guy who's been on the mat as long as he has, he's probably going to have chronic injuries, let alone just ones that flare up as a result of training. And we believe that this back injury is not new; that it's something that he's been dealing with on and off for years, and it's bad enough to the point where he's had to withdraw from his match with Rita. However, every cloud has a silver lining, because up steps not only his teammate, but his own black belt, Miha. Let me get this right, Pahavits. Okay, Miha is basically one of Keenan's first black belts, if not his first ever black belt, I believe. And he's going to be stepping up to taking on Hisam instead. And well, I mean, you were watching Miha's matches earlier to kind of put together a little clip we'll play in a second, but what can fans expect from Miha?
Mia's got a really open game here. We can actually run this clip for a quick example. It's from Nogi Worlds a couple years ago. But he's got a really great stand-up game, solid judo background as well, but translates quite nicely into Nogi competition. As you can see, takedown right here into a little bit of danger, but he gets out of it shortly. But what I like about him is that he never stops attacking, really. He's super aggressive. And I think he brings the exact kind of attitude we're looking for at who's number one, which is, you know, submission heavy, high activity rate, not really worried about points, and just trying to play with good jiu-jitsu. So you can see him diving on this knee bar here. Knee bar. Gets a quick tap. So
knee bar. I love it, man. I know you're right. You're absolutely right. That Miha's game is exactly the kind of game that we like to see on who's number one, because he is he's definitely a submission hunter. He does have very unorthodox kind of grappling game. Loves the stand up. He's a black belt in judo, and he's able to integrate judo style takedowns, gi and no gi, into his matches as well. Great balance, very flexible. Used to be part of the yoga for BJJ team, and really unorthodox submission game. That catches a lot of people by surprise. You know, you can expect like knee bars, expect diving chokes, expect kimuras. He's got a very unorthodox and a little bit of a wild man kind of style to the grappling, very physical as well. But that just adds up, and it's entertainment, right? That's what we like.
Yeah, and I think his style matches up nicely with Hisam. Corey, you have any idea of what fans might expect on Friday?
Yeah, I think Hisam's going to have a little bit of a much different matchup on his hands. I think with Keenan, the preparation must have expected to be up against somebody who's going to wait for a mistake and pick his shot. Miha has a very similar style to Hisam, in that it's open-ended, full throttle, let's see what happens. I think they're both going to take a lot of risks. I'd be really interested to see what this matchup looks like on the feet, as they both have a pretty solid judo background and they're not afraid to use it. So I think a lot of action standing and when it gets to the ground.
And what are the updated odds saying? Because they've been updated since, right? And you got the new odds through. So who's the favorite in this match, and who's the underdog?
So let's get that pulled up. The favorite is now Hisam. Hisam was the underdog against Keenan. I don't think that's a big surprise.
No, definitely not. Multiple-time Nogi world champion, ADCC medalist. Yep.
Hisam's actually a heavy favorite here, so he's minus 400 to Miha's plus 3.
Wow, plus 300 underdog.
Yep. So there's some interesting prop bets in there too, but I think looking at Hisam coming in here as a heavy favorite, it could make for some fun plays in the gambling pool if you so choose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting, of course, you look at the black belts, and I'm not even sure that Miha's actually competed as a black belt yet. I'd have to double check on that. We'll see him in a day or two and be able to ask him. But he definitely is going up against it. He's got a week's notice to take on somebody like Heisem. Heisem's extremely tough, and Heisem has had a pretty good run these last couple of months, right?
Yeah, definitely. But Miha has competed against elite level competition in Nogi. He's had a match with Craig Jones, with Grapple Fest, Reggie Boogeyman Martinez, among others. So it's not like he's just making some massive leap. He's been there with the best, and I think minus 300 is actually a pretty attractive bet if you are interested in that kind of game. But anyways, I like that they're both going to be very open. I think this might take some of the pressure off of Heisem as well. He's not facing a legend like Keenan, and now it's like, all right, now I can go out there and really show my stuff. Where before it's like I have a pretty huge challenge in front of me. So I don't know, maybe one way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this match will actually move on to the prelims, and this will become the third and final prelim of the evening, and that means that the match between Mikhail Galvao and Oliver Taza will move on to the main card. So you will be able to watch Heisem versus Mika free on our YouTube channel and Facebook pages. Don't miss that one. It's going to be a lot of fun indeed. So should we talk about some of the news that has recently hit the jiu-jitsu scene?
Let's chat. What are you thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking about this news that Fight Sports has announced a new expansion plan, and the word is that that Cyborg is going to be basically focusing a lot of his attention onto his worldwide network, his affiliation, and or his affiliates, I should say. And he has started things off with a bang by signing a deal with the Manaus-based gym that was formerly Dream Art, under control of Melky Galvao, and of course known as the home of Mika Galvao. So Mika Galvao, along with his father and most recently Diogo Hayes, have been training at Fight Sports in Florida for the last couple of weeks. Now, they have entered into a formal partnership with Fight Sports, the team, and their gym in Manaus will now be branded Fight Sports, and all of the competitors from that gym will now represent Fight Sports in all competitions. That is a sizable acquisition.
That's big news. And what's really interesting about this isn't just like a takeover of gyms, for example, but if we go ahead and show this photo real quick, the way this is being presented is more like a professional sports team where they sign a new player.
A signing, exactly.
It's a little bit of a step forward, where before these kind of things were negotiated very informally, and some maybe even looked down upon, you might say, in the past, where someone takes someone from another team. It was always a little bit, let's say, tenuous of a situation. Where now this is pretty pro looking, right? They had a press conference, and there's things like contracts involved. So it's definitely a step, I would say, forward for the sport. But I'm sure many people would disagree that it's a good thing. Where do you stand on this?
So you're right. I see it as a step towards the growing professionalism within the sport, and whether that is a good thing or not. I think that the old school guys may see it as a bad thing, the increasing commercialization of jiu-jitsu. Personally, I find it hard to see a negative, because I think that this the prevalence of informal arrangements and informal contracts or non-existent contracts, verbal contracts, actually led to more problems, in the past. And I think that this is actually going to be a great thing, because it could be that there maybe is a duration, there's a specific time element to this agreement. So if things don't work out, people can part ways amicably after a certain time period, or what have you. But I also think that the written contract will dictate what Fight Sports is also giving to them.
That's what I wanted to chime in about. Absolutely. It's to me, a contract is kind of maybe scary for some. Just the word is like, ooh, I don't know if I want to involve that. But what it signals to me is that Fight Sports is providing support for their athletes in an official way, a way that can be documented and supported. And that's good. I would love to see more teams have that, and I know it's in place for many of the major associations, but I think putting it out there and making it public is good, because it will put more of an onus on everyone else to follow suit, right?
Yeah,
Like, more
yeah.
money for the athletes. That's great.
Absolutely, and you know, support, financial support for these guys to train, for them to travel, for them to compete in the international tournaments, and of course, you know, what do fight sports get out of that? Well, they get a bunch of really high-level athletes, like as you can see here, brown belt Miguel Galvao training right now at the Fight Sports HQ in Miami, Florida, and you know, guys like these now representing fight sports on the world stage, and these are, let's make absolutely no bones about it, these guys are serious competitors. You know, we've talked at length about the jiu-jitsu in Manaus and about how the depth of talent in that city. So fight sports establishing a presence through Melky Galvao's gym in Manaus is huge. That is going to create a pipeline for very talented athletes who maybe haven't had the conditions or the resources to be able to compete on the world stage. It's now going to give them the ability to travel, compete, and represent, like I said. And let's not forget as well that geographically, Manaus is only a 4-hour flight from Miami, Florida. It's actually really, really close. So to forge a connection between those two gyms makes a ton of sense, and I'm excited to see what the results are. And here is, in the black gi, this is Diogo Hayes. So he was, of course, the other athlete pictured at that press conference held there by Fight Sports and Fighters Choice Management. And it just gives you a sort of an idea of what to expect from the jiu-jitsu from these athletes. Both, I believe, still teenagers, right, Corey?
Yeah, I believe they're both. Mika is 17 and Dio may be 18 here. But just as an athlete, going back to the idea of professionalism and what this press conference and what this official announcement do for the sport, I think it's important to consider what it must feel like to be an athlete in this situation, having that announced and having it in written form, what I can expect from this affiliation and what your rights are as an athlete, and having it announced publicly must make you feel like you're being included in the team and not kind of swept under the rug as like, now you're with us.
Great point, great point. And Cyborg actually said in a statement that they're looking forward to having the entire team there soon. And I mean, that's considerable, because you look at some of the names, you know, we've actually got it. If you go to our website and you go to the Grappling Bulletin article, you can actually see that the black belts, for example, you got Luis Paulo, who won the Abu Dhabi World Pro not too long ago and beat Espen Mathisen by submission in that, which was a very impressive result, and I think opened a lot of people's eyes as to just how good and how tough this guy is. But then you've also got Brenda Larissa, who is an extremely promising fighter in the roosterweight, stroke light featherweight, and of course in who's number one, that would be strawweight, you know, the 115-pound division, and she's actually already beaten Maisa Bastos. Yes, so you know, of course, that's an extremely significant victory. And then you've got Fabricio Andre, who we've been watching for a long time. That guy's a killer.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites, lightweights to watch, featherweights.
So there's a ton of very, very tough names from, like, say, black belt, brown belt, purple belt, who will now be representing Fight Sports, and I'm very excited to see what that will look like when it comes to the big competitions and how that may influence the podium.
Oh, I think it'll definitely shake up the team rankings, team standings. Some big names there. So very exciting stuff.
And apparently there will be more news coming soon from Fight Sports in the next couple of weeks. They've given me the heads up that there will be further announcements, and as we learn of them, we'll be sharing them with you guys. So, of course, EUG wasn't the only event that took place on the weekend. We should probably do our little results and recap, shouldn't we?
Let's jump in.
Shall we? Corey, let's lead things off, please, because you were kind of aggregating all the results from the weekend. Start off with IBJJF. Tell us what went down this weekend.
Yeah, so IBJJF actually had 2 events this weekend, or depending on how you look at it. But they had a gi and no gi tournament in Atlanta, as well as a gi and no gi tournament in Boise, Idaho. In Atlanta, I think the biggest takeaway was Ethan Krelliston made an appearance, and he ended up walking away with gold at lightweight. We actually have a clip of his performance here.
Nice.
And in the meantime, a couple of other big results. Ronaldo Jr. walked away with 4 gold medals in Boise. Damien Orande won his first black belt gold. What else?
Well, tell us what we're seeing right now. This is
Ethan Krelliston in his opening round against. Nonetheless, he ends up pulling guard, and he comes away with a really, really clean sweep up to a Kimura, and then just pours on the attack.
So he wasn't actually hunting for the leg locks because, Ethan, his first black belt tournament in IBJJF, and the new rules in 2021 allow for heel hooks. Was he using the kind of leg attacks that he's so well known for, or
he ended up securing a leg attack later on. He ended up securing a heel hook to finish the final. But I think he wanted to show a little bit.
The position on that Kimura there is rolling all the way over. I thought he was going to roll all the way through then. So
sure, and we know Ethan is a very well-rounded competitor, right? He's very attack savvy, attack oriented. And showing off his passing pressure here. I'm sure Chase can attest to that.
You know what that feels like, right?
I was just going to plug it, but thank you for that setup there, Corey. Yeah, I got a chance, of course, to train with Ethan a little bit, and we filmed an episode of Fix My Game. He goes over some of his passing techniques and the way he has a very specific posture that's a little bit unusual for anyone that's coming from mostly training in the gi. This maybe will open your eyes to some possibilities for no-gi passing. And yeah, he has some serious pressure from top. It's crazy.
Nice, yeah. Lightweight with a heavyweight pressure. And then, so he had 3 matches, 3 finishes, is that correct?
It was actually 2 matches, 2 finishes, but here he is in the final, his final match. He won in 40 seconds with a heel hook, which is coming up here. Really like this transition. He switches from one leg directly into the next.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so showing it. Oh, outside heel hook. Yeah, there it is.
This actually looks a lot like the heel hook that Craig Jones showed in that clip from the DDS in Puerto Rico, the newest episode. A very similar setup.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, it's great to see Ethan competing back onto the IBJJF scene. I remember watching him as a colored belt actually, but nice to see him competing now in his in the black belt ranks. What else went down this weekend, Corey?
Fight to win 173. So Paulo Miyao and Lucas
173.
173.
Oh, I think actually our our headline was wrong. Oh, ignore that. Fight to win. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Fight to win 173. Paulo Miyao and Lucas Pinheiro were the main event. Paulo ended up winning by a split decision. Very back and forth match. Paulo got very close to a Berimbolo here. We have a highlight of that here as well. And then a couple of really, really sharp submissions. But first, let's look at the Paulo Pinheiro match. Lucas using the passing pressure he's known so well for. But Paulo's guard is as impossible as ever to pass.
This was the main event, and I got to say, okay, the passing, yep, good luck passing his guard.
Right.
But Lucas diving on an ankle lock? When have we ever seen the Meow Brothers tap to a footlock?
Hey, you got to try something, man. I give Lucas all the credit in the world for trying to pass and then footlock him. What else are you supposed to do?
A good point. Yeah, a really good point.
Berimbolo him? Like, okay, good luck with that too. So,
and speaking of Berimbolo, I mean, there's Paulo doing his thing. It's one of the things that he's best known for, right? I kind of like seeing Paulo in the gi. I'll be honest, we've seen him compete no-gi recently. He competed in no-gi pans, and he took gold there, right? But I think I prefer watching him in the gi. I just think that his game is a little bit more gi-oriented, and maybe his techniques are a little more effective. And, he's just obviously one of the best ever in the world to do the Berimbolo, and I think we can learn so much from watching it. I just don't know if he's got the same sort of versatility in the no-gi scenario.
Well, I don't know about that. I like watching him no-gi, especially when he's winning, but hasn't translated, let's say, to success at Who's Number One, for example,
right,
where he lost that match with Chio Martinez. So I definitely rate him higher as a gi player. But in my mind, he's still so fun to watch in both. And, it's a great showcase for him out here at Fight to Win.
So it went to a decision, and you can see it was a split decision in favor of Meow. But do you think that was fair, Corey?
Yeah, looking at the match, I could see really how it could go either way. I actually, watching it, had it going towards Lucas Pinheiro, but I wasn't surprised that it went towards Paulo Miyao.
But then this was a good
Kendall.
one.
Wow.
Yeah, Kendall Rusing pouring on that pressure there in that guard pass. Man, she came out. She was fired up. I watched this one live on Friday night, and man, she was just relentless, right?
The passing pressure was it came on quick, and she did not let up on the gas pedal. And as soon as she locked up this arm triangle, it looked very clearly like she had Toledo's number here.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, she felt that she had the position, and even though she was like in that kind of 3/4 mount, sort of a very loose half guard for Nogueira. I mean, Nogueira was going nowhere, and at first I was like, man, I don't know if that arm triangle is really there. But Kendall, she obviously knew, because she wasn't letting go, and And yeah, big win for her. And then Richard Nogueira, man, this triangle so fast. Check this out, the way that he shoots it up from. It's kind of a traditional triangle attack. But wait, because it's like a cobra strike. Check this out.
Look at the time left on the clock, too.
Less than 30
less
seconds.
than 30 seconds here.
So very traditional spider guard setup. Boom, there it goes. And then immediately foot on the hip. The hand on the shin, which is a very important detail. You see so many people reaching up and grabbing their own foot. Nogueira had his hand on the shin, which of course controls their opponent, his posture. But
look at that foot lock.
Marcos Tinoco, man, you nasty man. Look at that. brutal.
Just trying to gut it out too.
Oh, wow. That is what the kids call a full send, right?
And
Just
then switches it up to the cross lock. Damn, that. Ouch.
Oh, belly
And then
down
finishes
on
that
the cross
belly down
grip.
with the panza lock.
Oh my word, man. Yeah, Marcos Tinoco, I remember I saw him hit a very fast, very hard steamer lock at Nogi Pans a couple of years ago. And just one of those moves. A guy as strong as he is as well. Because I actually, I remember talking with a friend of mine who trains at Marcelo Garcia Academy. And they said that, Mateus has got the nickname King Kong, right? Because he's just a gorilla. But apparently Marcos has stronger grips.
That's great.
He had the strongest grips in the gym. And so get that guy on your foot. Ugh.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Wow. So pretty cool weekend. Thanks for putting those results together and the highlights. Any match that particularly stood out as your favorite this weekend?
Actually, if you go back and look at that Richard Nogueira match, the whole thing was there were some really high amplitude slams in there in the earlier parts of the match, and Richard had a couple of very nice passing attempts as well. So really impressive to watch another kind of featherweight come through and make his case that he deserves to be up there.
Nice. My favorite match from the weekend, no secret, Mika versus Titan. Go watch it. It's that good. It is that good. All right, so there's the recap of the action. Should we talk a little bit about what's coming up?
Yes, I think there's a big weekend ahead of us, Hal.
Really?
Let's chat. We have Who's Number One is back. Of course, the earlier scheduled match of Craig Jones versus Tai Ruotolo is on.
Yes.
And I am so excited for that one. It's going to be absolutely bonkers, but it's a stat card, Hal.
Have you seen the Road to Who's Number One video yet with Tai versus Craig?
I haven't seen the Redux.
We saw the original, right?
Yeah, of course the original, but no, I haven't had a chance to peep that yet.
That dropped this morning. It's on our site and on our YouTube channel. Make sure to go and watch that because it tells the entire story leading into this match of Tai versus Craig, and of course includes that sort of moment when Craig had to pull out from the match a couple of months ago, and we had to scramble for the last minute replacement. Of course, Tai took on William Tackett at that event instead, and incredible performance. I mean, few people treat William Tackett in that manner, and Tai Ruotolo came out like a man possessed. And if there were any doubts, if there are any questions about whether Tai had what it takes to go up against somebody of Craig Jones's caliber, a larger opponent who's been very active on the no-gi scene, I think that that match with Tackett was a preview of what to expect. And Tai came out, and if he takes 50% of that into his match with Craig, Craig's going to have to be very, very careful.
100%. No one can take Tai Ruotolo lightly because he's so explosive from the jump, and I think Craig's actually kind of the same way, though. I mean, Craig looks like he's got somewhere to be after all of his matches. He's really trying to get out there and finish things quick. So you combine those two, and of course, it's a recipe for a fantastic jiu-jitsu match. So
I can't wait.
It's a badass main event.
It really is. But it's not the only match we got to look forward to. What else is on the show?
Well, we have Mikey Musumeci's back, right? We talked about it a little bit earlier in the beginning of the show, but I think everyone is very curious to see how Mikey is going to do with a leg locker, right? Mikey is back in full swing for no-gi. I mean, he's obsessed, and he's clearly very freaking good at it.
All in. He is all in on no-gi. He has not put the gi on since his match with Marcelo Cohen, believe it or not.
And if you know anything about Mikey, you know that's completely insane for him, and it never happens.
He was saying to me over the weekend, though, that he really appreciates the laundry because, just like washing a gi and washing a rash guard and a pair of pants or a pair of shorts is a lot easier than having to wash 2 or 3 gis a day. So,
but I do think Junie presents a really cool challenge for Mikey, and we hopefully we'll see a bit of a leg lock shootout. I think Junie
absolutely.
definitely is hunting for the legs, and Mikey seems to be embracing that element of no gi as well.
Well, he's already got the leg game so good, right? I mean,
Yes.
few people are as good in the world as Mikey is at playing that leg game, and I think integrating the heel hooks and the awareness of those attacks. Well, he showed us with Lucas Pinheiro that, okay, he's been working it, so I'm sure he's going to be well prepared for somebody like Junie. But then, of course, he does have the ability to do something like he did against Marcelo Cohen and just focus entirely on the upper body and finish from there if he wants. So I think, it's a great test, but it's also a test of Mikey's jiu-jitsu as to how well-rounded he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's a great match. But I mean, there are so many others. How we have Rafaela Guedes is back versus Aaron Harp, and
Super excited for this one.
if you haven't seen Aaron Harp, she kind of jumped onto our radar at Fight to Win when she had an incredible performance, a standout victory for Maggie Grandotti there in enemy territory. Right, she was in Miami when that happened, and just went.
But she's also South Florida based, so it's not that far away.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
But it's still, that particular night, it was definitely Fight Sports
in
the house. And Aaron Harp just went out there and smashed. I was like, wow, that girl is really good. That woman is incredible. So super happy to have her on the card versus someone like Rafaela Guedes, who is also
Rafaela's super tough.
Yeah, I mean, she's running the show right now, it seems like. So that's a fantastic matchup. But what are you guys excited about? I'm doing all the talking here.
I'm super excited to see Cade Ruotolo in action. He's going to be taking on the very tough Cole Franson. So I think Cole is one of those deceptive competitors who maybe doesn't have the biggest name, especially in the no-gi scene, and yet is as I like to call him, he's the dark horse. He's the kind of guy that you can't sleep on. The kind of guy that you give them an inch and they'll take you out. And we saw he had a great match on Fight to Win. I can't remember who he was against, but it was a couple of months ago. Remember we watched him here in Austin and he competed on Fight to Win and he had this really rousing match. It was a fantastic performance, but it gave us a little bit of what to expect from Cole in the no-gi scene, and I was really impressed. So, of course, Cade is phenomenal. Cade is coming off that incredible match with Ethan Krellinston a couple of months ago where he took a potential submission of the year or candidate right there, that flying dust, that just amazing,
Flying dust. But yes, if you haven't seen it, that's actually what happened.
It's phenomenal. It's Cade Ruotolo at his finest, and he's got a very, very tough test in Cole Franson. So I'm particularly excited for that match. It's right in the middle of the card as well, so hopefully it should be a good one. How about you, Corey?
Just a point of that Cole Franson match was Thiago Macedo.
That was it. Thank you.
I'm very excited about the Mika Galvão Oliver Taza match, which is now on the main card. Obviously, I think that match deserves to be on the main card. I think everybody who has watched either of these two guys compete on Who's Number One thinks that match deserves to be on the main card. But really interesting to see what kind of test Taza will bring to Mika. Taza is undefeated. He's 2-0. On Who's Number One, and Mika Galvão is clearly trying to take down everybody that gets put in front of him. Also, the very first match of the night on the prelims is in what I think is the best division in grappling right now, the most exciting division in grappling, the strawweight. So it's going to be Danielle Kelly versus Jessica Crane.
That's a great match.
Yeah, both these girls are really close in the rankings. I think it's going to be a really good test to see where Jessie Crane is after her submission win over Lauren Sears, and a good chance at redemption after Danielle Kelly lost a really gritty match that went the distance against Jessica Khan. Yeah,
absolutely right. I'm very excited for that one indeed. We also have, we mentioned earlier, the Miha Pehovic versus Haysam Rida, and Cody Steele versus Philip Rowe will be the opening match of the card. And don't forget that the Daisy Fresh star Andrew Wiltsey of Pedigo Submission Fighting will be up in action against the returning Gabriel Almeida of Checkmat. So very, very exciting match there as well. I feel that's an interesting one, right, Chase?
Absolutely. And for those of you that have been asking, the Fix My Game with Andrew comes out Wednesday. So
yeah!
It'll be ready to go.
Buzzsaw passing,
a lot
baby.
of buzzsaw stuff. Heavy pressure. It's a good one.
All right, man. I'm looking at the comments here, actually, in the YouTube chat. Thanks, as always, for you guys who watch us live and are engaging in the chat. But you guys are obviously really excited as well for this weekend, and I can see that you're interested for Who's Number One this weekend. Specifically, you mentioned in Mikey. Of course, everybody's looking forward to Mikey. The question is, will Mikey eat a pizza before or after his match with Junie?
I think after. I believe we ran into those guys in the lobby and they were going for pizza after last show. So
there it is.
It's a safe bet.
Yeah. All right. So, look, can't wait for that one. Super excited. And about Who's Number One? I just wanted to bring this up because Corey and I have been doing some research, and we've been going back through the stats for Who's Number One all the way back. And of the 10 fastest submissions in Who's Number One history, Craig Jones has 3 of them.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? He has not had a Who's Number One match go longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
that's something.
let's see. Because, on the other hand, Tairo Tolo, Ty's matches, interestingly, have all, except that one with Cody Steele, have all gone the distance. But his match against Cody went 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes in length. So it's kind of interesting for me that, you've got somebody who's either a quick finisher, like Craig Jones, or somebody who's just got the ability to go full throttle for the entire 15 minutes. So really intriguing clash of styles. I'm interested to see how this one is going to play out.
So here's a quick note on that. Tairo Tolo in 3 matches has spent more time in dominant positions than Craig Jones has spent in 3 matches in total.
That's because Craig's busy finishing people,
Right.
but still,
Yeah.
but an interesting stat for sure. And I think really to me that the opening exchanges will really answer a lot of questions for us. Before things get slippery, can Craig get a bite and get into a favorable position, finishing position, or can Ty play at range and enter and get out like he needs to, because he's so good at really closing distance so fast and hunting for those darces from basically long range. And I'm curious to see if he's able to penetrate into Craig's guard and then get back to a safe distance again, right?
Well, exactly, because that Craig, he loves to draw those people in, and as we saw and as Gordon mentioned as well, he's so sticky that once he gets hold of his opponents, it's very difficult for them to retract themselves from that spider's web. But we do have a question in the live chat. Actually, people want to know the fastest, the top 10 fastest submissions from Who's Number One history. So shall I just reel them off?
Look at you, fancy. Yes.
All right, so number 10, working our way down. Cole Abate versus Bird Wiltsey with his triangle armbar in just over 5 minutes. Then it was Jessica Khan versus Patty Fontes with her armbar win. That was on the last. Both of those were on the last Who's Number One, Jones versus Panzer. Craig Jones at number 8 against Ronaldo Jr., that inside heel hook that he scored in 4 minutes 15 seconds. William Tackett's Kimura against Jason Rao in just under 3.5 minutes. Cole Abate makes a second appearance on the fastest submissions with his ankle lock against Ned Johnson a couple of months ago. That was back in March. Keenan Vieira's submission against, Keenan Duarte's submission of Hodolfo, his rear naked choke, in a shade under 2.5 minutes, December last year. And then Craig Jones versus Roberto Jimenez, the 4th fastest submission in Who's Number One history. That was 2 minutes and 25 seconds. Mikey, his heel hook against Lucas Pinheiro on our last show, 1 minute 26 seconds. And then, of course, Craig Jones versus Luis Panzer in only 46 seconds on the last Who's Number One, that inside heel hook. But the fastest Who's Number One submission, really not sure if anybody's ever going to be able to beat this, but Nicky Ryan versus Tony Ramos, that heel hook, 23 seconds. I think that record's going to stay for a while.
That's tough to beat, but it does have a bit of an asterisk given Tony Ramos is a wrestler and barely did any jiu-jitsu. So
Fair, very fair indeed. Well, maybe we'll put together a little highlight video after this upcoming event of the fastest submissions so far, because you never know, we could actually get something else to put in that top 10 after this weekend. Let's hope, right?
absolutely.
Cool. All right. So upcoming events, we have American Nationals on June 24th to 26th. You guys have been scoping through the divisions. What stands out? What stands out about American Nationals?
Right. So it's a gi and no gi. Let's go through some of the gi divisions first, real quickly here.
Yeah. Who are the
Black
big
belt.
names?
So Roberto Jimenez is going to be in the show.
He's putting the gi on.
He's in the gi.
Great.
Middle heavy right now. Obviously things could change with the weight check next week, but as of now, middle heavy. He's in there with Murillo Santana, the legendary guy, and Iago de Souza is also in the mix, among others. So looking forward to middle heavy. I would love to see Murillo versus Roberto. That'd be a cool match.
That is a very interesting one. Yeah, clash of styles.
And then middleweight, Ronaldo Jr. is back in the mix. He's in there with Kyle Caetano and Lucas Vale. Heavyweight has some fun names. Pedro Mourinho is going to be in there. Jake Watson, Bruno Lima, Dominic Bell is on that division as well.
Nice.
As Nate Mendelsohn. And then actually, featherweight's looking pretty fun too. We have Joao Mendes just from
He had a great performance last weekend on EUG.
Exactly. From Atos there. Richard Nogueira, who we saw as well, is back in featherweight. And then the Baron Bola Bros, Nick Salas and Daniel Myra?
Myra? Is that correct? Yep.
Gabriel
He's nodding.
Souza.
He's nodding,
Are
yeah.
all in the mix there. So there are some fun divisions there in the gi ranks. Also, we
Nice.
have Jessica Khan and Patty Fontes may square off again at light featherweight.
In the gi this time.
In the gi.
Oh, I like that.
And Daniel Alvarez is also in a middleweight, and Elizabeth Clay is in a medium heavy.
Oh,
so some
great to
big
see.
names also in the female ranks.
Very cool. What about the no-gi ranks, Corey? What stands out there?
A lot of similar names, but also some wild cards.
Yeah.
I think medium heavyweight jumps out as my favorite division right now. Roberto Jimenez.
Yeah, I love watching Roberto. Yeah, gi, no gi, whatever. Let's do it.
David Garmo, Stanley Rosa, and Mija is also in that division.
Oh, hell yeah.
I also really like in the light featherweight, Bebeto Oliveira coming back after taking, I think he took second at Nogi Pants.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Richard Alarcon, Ray De Leon. Lightweight's really
Stingray.
interesting. Yep, Stingray for 10th Planet. Lightweight's really interesting. We've got Samir Chantry, Daniel Meyer from the Bolo Bros, Gabriel Souza, and then EJ Barge slid back in at middleweights. So let's see if he can right the ship from Nogi Pants.
Hell yeah. Oh, man, that sounds really fun. So that's going to be June 24th, 26th, 3-day event in Las Vegas. You're going out to that one. I'll be watching from home because Chase and I, we are going to be here in Austin, Texas because we're going to be doing remote commentary for BJJ Stars, which goes down on June 26th. And we've got a couple of face-to-face graphics here. Let's just pull these up real quick so we can talk about these. Because look at these matches. In the gi, we've got Patrick Gaudio versus Felipe Pena. That is a great match right there. Very excited to see, of course, Felipe Pena won the heavyweight tournament that BJJ Stars had a couple of months ago. Patrick Gaudio is one of the best-known heavyweights in the game. He's a multiple-time world silver medalist, I want to say. And yeah, you know, really interesting match there between two technicians because, of course, Felipe Pena is one of the most technical guys in the game. And yet, I always say this, I feel like Patrick Gaudio has a bad reputation. People think he's this giant hulking monster. Don't get me wrong, he's pretty jacked, right? But he is also really deceptively technical with a very, very good guard game, very good X-guard, single leg X-guard. So it's going to be interesting to see how those guys match up. But that's not all, because if you look at the gi matches, there's some standout ones. And we're not going to go through the full card. We'll do that next week. We have the full card. But we've also got Gutenberg Pereira versus Urba Santos, Michael Lange versus Claudio Cardozo, and then no-gi matches. The no-gi matches are really, really good. ADCC champion Bianca Basilio up against Gabby Fechter. ADCC champion Matej Deniz is taking on Lucas Hulk Barboza. And then two-time ADCC champion Yuri Simoes is taking on Muhammad Ali. Those are three really, really good no-gi matches. And important to note that these are going to be held under IBJJF rules. With heel hooks.
Excellent.
Because, of course, now IBJJF has heel hooks.
That's great, and I love to see BJJ Stars integrating some no-gi stuff down there. It's going to make for a really fun card. And like you said, the main event there, or what I believe to be the main event with Patrick Gaudio and Felipe Pena, is going to be fireworks. I wish we saw Felipe Pena more. You know, he's so damn good at what he does, and so this is be a great return to action from him.
Man, I'm particularly excited for those no-gi matches, I got to say. You know, Basilio versus Gabby Fechter. Gabby Fechter is, I believe, either a Brazilian or a South American no-gi champion. And Bianca, of course, is a ADCC champ. And then you've got Lucas Hulk, you know, multiple-time world no-gi champion versus Matej Deniz. Muhammad Ali, one of the most explosive and entertaining guys there is, up against Yuri Simoes.
Also great to see Michael Lange on the card, right? You know.
Yeah, veteran.
So
yeah, love it. That's going to be a lot of fun. June 26th, you can watch it here on FloGrappling. We will be doing commentary in English, and we'll do a full rundown of the card and a real kind of breakdown next week after Who's Number One is done. We can think a little bit further ahead than just the weekend, right?
It's a busy summer. We've been talking about that for the last 6 weeks, I feel like, but the events keep stacking up, and we love to see it. That's what we're here for. So, good times.
Speaking of good times, yeah, it is good times. It's non-stop good times here on FloGrappling, and we got more coming up this weekend. FloGrappling. Who's Number One? Tyro Tolo versus Craig Jones. Don't miss it. We'll be there. Watch it live or on demand. We'll see you next week on Monday for a big wrap-up episode. We're going to have lots to talk about in next week's Grappling Bulletin. Corey's going to be on vacation. Me and Chase, though, right here, not going anywhere. See you next time.